Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.
Andrew Little.
Mr Speaker, like the previous member, I too take great pleasure in taking a call, hopefully slightly longer than the previous members, on this very important piece of legislation, because we can laugh and chortle and giggle away at these administrative and somewhat technical procedures, but so amongst other things, I think they invite us to reflect on the regulatory process, the process of validation and confirmation. And when we look through the list of regulations that call for validation, there are some very important ones there. Not the least of which I think is the Commodity Levies Peonies Order of 2012. And of course the commodity levies for peonies relates to the need for those who are trading in the vast volume of flowers known as peonies to be levied for that. Those at least selling more than $2,500 worth in a year. Now, I don't know how many peonies that is. It sounds like a lot of peonies. But those who sell more than that are required, therefore, to be levied. And that levy is collected by none other than the very august institution known as the New Zealand Peony Society Incorporated. Incorporated, I'd see only in October last year.
It's called flower power.
So it's a new form of flower power, and I think I'm most intrigued that the New Zealand Peony Society should be established. I don't recall seeing it notified in the Gazette anywhere or advertised, and if only I'd known, Mr Speaker, I might happily have joined, because I think this body offers not only the opportunity to collect a levy on behalf of the very many peony growers, but indeed to establish a fighting force, a genuine flower power of a society who can advocate on behalf of all peony growers and indeed all peonies as needed. And I think, but most importantly, to allow the New Zealand Peony Society to conduct the relevant research that it is empowered to do under the levies, the commodity order. These peonies, they are not. There is no other byproduct associated with them. They're not like poppies, for example, where the dry seed can be broken down and used for other purposes. Peonies are a unique breed of flower. They are, I think, a perennial, or they could be an annual. I've never quite understood the difference between the two, but there is a yearly cycle to them, which means they fall under one category or the other. And perhaps the Honourable Member Maggie Barry will take a call and she will be able to enlighten us on just the importance of the continuation of the Commodity Levies Peony Order 2012. But, Mr Speaker, I just wanted to make the point that these commodity levies are very important as we develop our commodity production base and develop our export capability and capacity in these new horticultural products. Then obviously the commodity levies play a very important role, because they not only allow the relevant industry group, in this case the Peony Society, to collect levies, but also give them the means to undertake the very important research, hopefully in collaboration with state organisations like Callaghan Innovation. And I'm sure that my learned colleague, Dr Megan Woods, will be interested to know that the Peony Society exists not only for the collection of levies, but also for the conduct of research into the development of the peony industry and peony strains and peony forms. Right. And who would have thought after that interpolation that Trevor Mallard was an accounting teacher, not a science teacher? But there we are. He has many strings to his bow. Oh, and he can use Google. And so, Mr Speaker, where was I at? This is in this most important contribution at this most important time of the year, because I don't take this lightly as we undertake this important task that has been blessed not only by the Minister, but also by none other a powerful force than the Regulations Review Committee, which the Minister herself acknowledged has a very important role, did so under the tutelage of Leanne Dalziel, now presently under Marion Street's leadership, and I think it's doing very important work. Work which Ian McKelvey noted Katrina Shanks is going to miss extraordinarily. And I know, having seen her earlier today, and congratulated her on her new very important role in the funeral industry, not a dying industry like the P&E industry, one with a great future, in fact, that she in fact enjoyed the time she spent on the Regulations Review Committee, making the very important contributions she did, including ensuring that this legislation, the subordinate legislation confirmation and validation bill, including confirming the place of commodity levies on the P&E industry, continues uninterrupted and remains continuous. And so that's important too. I note also other commodity levies that are to be continued include the commodity levies on avocados, and so that the Avocado Growers Association will be able to continue to play their very important role developing strands of avocados. I think if you avocado, one of the other love fruits of the world, I think they are described, and they also now are to be levied. Anybody growing avocados for sale, not just domestically but for export as well, is levied so that the Avocado Growers Association can continue its very important research work, possibly also in conjunction with Callaghan Innovation, maybe with MPI, maybe with other with CRIs such as Plant and Food Research, maybe with Hort Research. I don't know where they stand in the greater scheme of things, but we begin to see, as we look at, we take a piece of legislation like this, Mr. Speaker, and we look at the detail of it and we unpick it and we find an entire network of horticultural research, innovation, levy collection, export development and growth, and I think it means that we are in our nation and its commodity growers with their commodity levies levied on their produce means we are in good hands. And so, Sarah, on that basis, I'm quite happy, again like Marion Street, to confirm Labor's blessing on this bill. One other point I just wanted to make, I note one of the other pieces of regulation that has been that has been confirmed are the problem gambling levy regulations as well. And I think in a year in which we've had to debate a very unfortunate piece of legislation, a very retrograde piece of legislation, indicative of a government that is throwing caution to the wind when it comes to gambling and being somewhat or promoting a more destructive approach to gambling. Here we are being called upon now to validate, or at least to confirm and to continue, the problem gambling levy regulations of 2013. Who would have thought so early in the piece of the life of those regulations would be called upon to confirm them? And who would have thought, in light of the very fierce debate and very unfortunate debate and the circumstances of that debate, we would be called upon today to confirm the continuation of a levy on casino operators to deal with problem gambling. But at least we have it, and it really underscores the very point that I think opposition parties were making, is that if we're going to have activities like gambling, that we not only need to retain our right to regulate them, but we need to make sure that those who are in that industry are contributing responsibly and constructively to ensure those activities don't cause any unnecessary or unforeseen community destruction and disarray. And so, sir, it is good that those regulations are continuing, like the many others under this piece of legislation, and we are quite happy to support it.
Stephen Browning.